What's up, figureheads? I thought I'll do something different today in terms of finishing off the year on a high note because I think everyone does the top 10 videos and all that. And that's all well and good. I think you hear pretty much everything from any figure that has come up in 2020 in terms of how good it is or how bad it is and all that. So maybe I'll finish off the year. Not so much is the best 10 figures of 2020. It's more the best or the figures I have been able to collect in a 2020 year, because unlike most people, I suppose, or most of the YouTube reviewers, I started my collection when COVID struck, because I needed a hobby and I needed to take my mind off the hectic period that was COVID and all that. So sustaining day-to-day job and whatnot. So I got into this hobby and well, started off with one thing, then next thing you know, you have this much over a period of 6 to 7 months. So there you go. It can be addictive as such. So that's where it stands at the moment. I believe since I'm now addicted, 2021 will be addition of a few more of these to go. So we will explore that in the coming months and years and whatnot, because as you can see here, there's also enough room for another detox. And let's just say only God can help me. Anyways, so let's start off with just a summary of what I started off with, and then some of the good stuff that I've been able to purchase. Of course, much of it is driven by nostalgia, so sort of characters that I grew up with. So I was, just to give you a background, I was a kid in the 80s and sort of going into teenager in the 90s. So pretty much my collection would be figures or cartoons and comics and whatnot that resonate during that era, with the exception of some latest editions. But even if the latest editions, like for instance the Marvel Legend, much of the Marvel Legend collection is based off the classical look of these figures in terms of what I'm going for. So in a nutshell, so I started off with the year, I think this is way back in like May or June or something like that, and then this came up, this collection of 5 sort of vehicles that was Hot Wheels, and it was like a a local e-commerce thing, and it was like a pack of 5 for like a couple of bucks. I don't know how much was it now, but anyway, it had at least most of what I wanted. Masters of the Universe, which was the Wind Raider, and then you had the Thundercats Thunder Tank, and a Knight Rider kit car. I think this was the later edition when he was more like all over the top modifications and whatnot. And then you had Lotus Esprit, based off the Spy Who Loved Me movie, which I think this is the car that turns into a submarine. Now, one fun fact is that I used to work for Lotus, but Lotus Engineering, so that holds a special place in my heart in terms of the affinity to the company. And of course just came with this pack of 5. So Ghost Rider, the car that is pretty cool by itself. I don't know whether it hits any nostalgic spot, but considering it came with the pack of 5, why not. Then that got me started into what essentially became the buck. So I thought, I'm in a position in my life where I can afford things. So start looking into stuff from the like 80s, where I wasn't able to afford back then. Then next thing you know, one thing led to another. I went from so all the usual stuff from 80s, Transformers. So as you can see here, I am pretty happy with how they are depicted from the War for Cybertron series from Netflix. Fantastic rendition of characters in the G1 form, but with the new, well, not new storyline, but you know what I'm getting at. It's like a imagining of the old story. And one thing that works for me is just how the characters are just G1 reincarnated, and that's, you know, anyone from the usual bunch, from RC to Hound to what do you call, Optimus Prime, the man himself. I mean, how can you go wrong with some of these figures? Now, anyone who's in the Transformer collecting habit would know that the pinnacle of such Transformer figures are in the Masterpiece series, which can be pricey. So if you don't want to indulge in that much money in figurines, you go for the next best one. And I think the sort of Earthrise Siege figures hits the spot. You know, everything about it in terms of design works. Now, as you can see here, some of it are pretty it's taken out of the box to be displayed, and some of that is kept in the packaging itself, because I don't know, I started off as an inbox collector, and then I started taking them out, like the Marvel Legends for instance, and it just looks good. So it's a combination of both, because I don't know, I would like to keep a combination of both. I don't think there is one way or another. It's not be all and all in terms of collecting. So, you know, you collect and display it as how you can. So coming back to the story, that's what I said. Then you have quite a lot of the collections in terms of what do you call, Transformers. So you have here Springer, down there Hoist, you have Mirage, and then you have Wheeljack, you have Cliff Jumper, you have Sideswipe, and over the other side you have Ape Face, you have Starscream, and I love that Starscream. I mean, that is as cool as it gets in terms of Starscream. Starscream being, of course, a pivotal character in the original G1 cartoon animation, so can't go wrong with that. And then of course this one is Megatron in his sort of depiction. Probably not the quintessential Megatron, but you know, it's Megatron. He looks the part, he's bulky, he has that face. I'll go with that. Obviously, then of course, when you another 80s gem is G.I. Joes. Now this isn't technically 2020 figurines, but I managed to track them down, because as you go into toy collecting, you know for a fact that you'll bump into collectors of like different era and well, not different era, you know, different stuff from different timeline. So in that sense, I am happy to collect them as I find them. So this one particularly was something that intrigued me. It was the 25th anniversary. I think it was right about the 2007-2008 where they produced this, and just the 3/4 inch versions of G.I. Joe in all its glory was something I just had to have, because I never had this before. And to get them, of course, to get the original 80s versions of this will be difficult, but you know, the 25th anniversary is spot on to how I remember these characters, from, you know, Flint to Duke to who else, Zartan, and then you have what do you call that, Baroness, but this I don't think is the 25th anniversary. I don't know, I could be wrong. And then some newer ones like Cobra Commander in this G.I. Joe Resolute. I mean, you can't go wrong with that look. And the artwork, basically G.I. Joe, I think the card versions of G.I. Joe is some of the best looking packaging. Here you go, you have a Firefly, and then you have a Crimson Guard. So the artwork in itself, it's just something that's worth collecting, and it's one of the best figures in terms of putting it out on display, especially if you're stuck to the wall like these ones are. So yeah, had to have them. And then of course, for just a bit of fun, there's Loyal Subjects versions of Cobra, Officer, and Firefly. These are buying box, by the way, so you don't really know what you're getting. And of course, once I've started getting this kind of carded figures, I've discarded this. But it was you know, a little bit of fun. Now, as you know, in terms of collection, I don't really have like I'm a loyalist. I only collect like one particular style of figure. I go for anything from actual figurines to, you know, like a caricature versions like this, for instance Funkos, as you can see here, or Loyal Subjects. You know, it doesn't bother me whether, you know, it has to be an action figure with articulation and all that. If it is a good depiction, if it is decent enough, why not, you know. So let's go to, down here you have some oddballs here and there. You have Samurai Jack. Now Samurai Jack was more in the 2000s, as you can imagine. That's when I started growing out of cartoons and whatnot. But Samurai Jack is one of those shows that was just very memorable in terms of how it depicted the character, how he was, he found his way, he came into being, and it was a very good show. And just when they came up with the Funko Soda version of this, for anyone who's interested, it's just something I had to have, because I don't see any like action figures of him as such, but I would love to have, and somebody should investigate that prospects. Then there are some like hodgepodge of stuff that are gifts from because I got into this collection, and family members and friends started giving gifts every now and then whenever they stumble upon something. So you have like a Funko Soda version of Joker, and then you have Funkos of what is essentially Conan the Barbarian, Phantom, all classic stories. I love the Ghost Who Walks. I am planning to get, mind you, I've seen what NECA is doing with the Defenders of the Universe action figures, and my god, that is something I'm gonna get for sure. Tick. Here you go, another sort of caricature version of that. That Logan is from the Movieverse, and I don't necessarily collect Movieverse, but it was a gift, so why not? And then let me take out some of this stuff, because here you have hidden there is one of the 80s Babe Gem. As you can know, if you're in the 80s, most of you guys like Gem in terms of transforming into the original Miley Cyrus without being so annoying. That's how I can put it. Then the wife, the missus, got this Lego Nintendo Entertainment System, NES, all Lego-fied. I'm not much of I remember playing these games. I don't know whether I have like very nostalgic values to it, but I think this is one of the things that's just pretty cool, and it's going up in value, so I have not really opened it up. I don't know whether I ever will. Maybe at some point when the price is right, I might sell it off. I don't have a nostalgic feeling. That's what I'm saying. I don't necessarily buy toys with the intent of like selling it in the aftermarket for like secondary market or investment or whatever. I buy what I like and I stick with it. But occasionally, if I stumble upon something that has value, or somebody has given to me that has a value, I keep it in box, mint in box, with the view that I sell it off later when the price is right. Something that also I think as a Transformer collector you would collect is this Platinum Edition Insecticons. This is quite an old one. Again, something I didn't take it out of the box, but I got it dirt cheap because the guy was discarding it, and he wanted some money. I don't know what was his reason, but I got to have Insecticons. Who wouldn't? So that's the middle portion between the two big DTOFs. So let's look at the DTOFs that is more filled, shall we say, in terms of collection. Now, Marvel Legends is something relatively new. I just, or at least for me, in terms of my collection, I started off with the 80th anniversary Cap America, and it's something that I just fell in love with in terms of this kind of action figures. And then one thing led to another, and then all of a sudden I wanted to start a collection for Marvel heroes that make up the Marvel universe. So I'm trying to go for the quintessential look, or the classic look, that how I remember them. Of course, not all I get it right. Of course, the Black Widow isn't really like, for instance, a classical look, but she's a fantastic action figure. I have to say, it's one of the best of. Some of them is just merely it looks good, but articulation wise and all that is very poor. But that Black Widow is fantastic addition. So you have, what do I have in terms of Marvel Legends collections? First and foremost, in the back you can see there is that I think it's called the Marvel Vault. It's quite an old piece. What I was planning to do is put the Marvel figures right in front of here and have what do you call, Stanley, which I think they did the Marvel Legends figurine sit on top of the book. How's that? I think you guys would love that. That's how I see it. So this is like a hodgepodge of Marvel characters that I love. You start off with not in particular order. Of course, the ones that I bought is the 80th anniversaries, the Thor and Iron Man and all that. But then eventually it grew. If you've seen my videos in my channel, it eventually grew to many others. So we start off with, let's say from left to right, you have Falcon, you have the Cosmic Ghost Rider. I would like a classical Ghost Rider, but for now this will do because he looks fantastic. I don't know whether he fits into this sort of classical look for him, but for now, let's keep him there for the time being. You have Black Widow, you have Punisher from the retro pack, you have the Hulk and this sort of Wolverine from their 2-pack, Hulk versus Wolverine. You have from the same retro pack as the Punisher, the Hawkeye version in his classical costume. You have the Trinity of the 80th anniversary depiction, Iron Man, Captain America and Thor, and of course one of the best cartoons of the 90s, Spider-Man animated series. Who can forget that? This Spider-Man is worth all your money. I mean, he's fantastic to look at and he's fantastic to pose in terms of articulation. I would probably get 2 of these because what I want to do is do one where he sits with the sort of Marvel Universe team, because for me, when I think about Marvel, I'm from a generation where Spider-Man is the face of Marvel long before this trio came along. So I'll probably get one for this particular shall we say collection, and the other being for Spider-Man animated series, which is also another one of my favorite cartoons. And I'll probably start a new collection with all the villains and whatnot, but all of this will take time, and I have to track them down, and I don't have the luxury of going every day, but when I do, and I do stumble upon something, I buy it. Dr. Doom, how can you go wrong? Classical villain in just an amazing figure in terms of, obviously Marvel Legends, it's a collection that is within a certain budget, but when you look at the Dr. Doom, sometimes Hasbro just gives you a figure that is so good looking, that is just beyond the range in which it is sold, and I think this is one of those. And then of course behind them is the Thing. I haven't got the team yet, it's still there, but this is I think it's from the Super Skrull wave. I wanted to get the original Fantastic Four in terms of the light blue costume, but okay, you do what you can with that. So that's Marvel. Then on the first shelf itself, you can see my tribute to one of the best and cartoons of the 80s, the Masters of the Universe. Cartoon and in all its glory. I started buying Super 7s. I found Big Boy Toy Store, and from that I got this Super 7 He-Man Ultimate Edition, which is a piece de resistance, shall we say, in terms of my collection. And then I started building the rest of the figures based on that. Then from that I went for this quirky hero, which was like the He-Man that was supposed to be, so like the next generation He-Man after the original series, the Filmation series. I thought that the storyline was just fantastic, and the quirkiness of it all in terms of the character. So I had to get him. So I did, and needless to say, he's still in the packaging. Because he doesn't really fit into the universe that I'm going for, but he's okay. He's a fantastic addition. And then some of the latest stuff like the Motu Origins, I am just so happy that these things have come into being, because to see them in the shelves of Toys R Us as a like a 41-year-old, wow, it's just nostalgia. It's just something that's so, when I look, I just walk into a Toys R Us and to see a Masters of the Universe collection, it just brings me back, and it's something just I had to have. So I just stuck with the main ones. So you have He-Man, of course, you have Prince Adam, his sled. Skeletor, I'm waiting for next year for Panther to come so that we have actual ride for him. And also some of these loyal subjects stuff, you know, from here you can see many faces, but at the back you can also see a collection of that. That's quite a, you know, challenge, because a lot of that is blind boxes, but I knew sort of the distributor and has managed to collect them as much as I can when it's free and loose. And yeah, fantastic addition. I love depictions of that in a caricature version, and of course Funko Fight versions, which is also hard to track down, mind you. There's a lot of fans more or less my age, and they track down some of this stuff. So here you have like the battle armor He-Man, you have Evelyn, you have Merman, and you have the sort of metallic Skeletor in his battle armor. All fantastic you know, renditions of these characters, just to create a sort of a Marvel Universe world, should we say? Yes, Marvel Universe. Sorry, Motu Universe. I keep messing Marvel and Motu. Anyways, then another sort of towards the end of the 80s, and I suppose most people can relate to this as well, the Ninja Turtles. NECA has done a fantastic stuff, so I've managed to track down, of course, the Foot Soldiers and then Bebop and Rocksteady, because why not? NECA is something that, you know, it's just one of those figures that I think action figure company that it just makes you feel so happy in terms of, you know, the figures. It feels like it just pops out of the cartoon. It is fragile, I'll give them that. It has its flaws, but if you're ever into action figure collection, NECA is possibly one of those that you have to concentrate on. I've booked so here how it works is that you pre-book some of this NECA stuff, and then you'll eventually get them. So it's not like you have Target or anything that you just find right out of the box. So, and then with that, you know, also Metalhead, because why not? It just looks perfect. Now the turtles themselves are just Playmate versions of this, because I missed the NECA version, but I think they fit, you know, and I'm okay with that. You know, would I love a NECA version of it? Yeah, sure. But then some of this, you know, like this 2-packs, they're not really that cheap. So if you want to collect an entire team, including April O'Neil, including Casey Jones, including Splinter Baxter 2-pack, including a Shredder Krang 2-pack and all that, you know, it's gonna cost a bomb. So where I can improvise, I try to do it, but you know, I'm okay. So once I've done collecting the Android body Krang, Shredder, and Splinter, April O'Neil, Casey Jones, I'm okay. I don't have to go to the like the extended world like Granito and all that. So there you go, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And of course the sort of below here you can also see the loyal subject versions of Turtles, and I'm happy with that as well, in all its glory. Some of the 80s other legends, who can forget Thundercats. Fantastic Super 7 version of Lino. Again, something that I just felt like it just have to be kept in the box. I don't care. I don't need to play with these guys. You know, the ones you see here, so the Mumra, the Slive, and the Panthro is, I think it is a version called the Funko Savage World. I do have the next wave of it, but you know, the main man, I had to get him in his glory, and this is the Super 7 version, all pristine and beautiful looking, alongside He-Man. He is the man to have. Just about there, hidden there. Now some of these I do have to rearrange, you know, put them in a nice place, but you can see here Voltron, that's also a Super 7 figure in all its glory. And then I did get a Spawn figure. Okay, you can't see it that much, but it's one of those things that I also had to get. Again, sorry, I just need to rearrange all of this. At the background there you can also see Spider-Man, the Spider-Verse. So you have Mysterio, Electro, you have Green Goblin, and you have Peter Parker. So these figures here is where I'm trying to come up with a universe by themselves. So the Spider-Man universe, I have the Spider-Man in my Marvel collection, and I need another Spider-Man so that I can create the Spider-Man animated series universe. Okay, then you have Transformers all opened up from the box. As you can see here, the ones that are displayed on the window is going, wall is going to stay that way, but some of them that I had the courage to
open up. I did. So you have Mirage in his sort of Decepticon mode. You have the Quintessons, the 86 movie. Who can forget that? What a beautiful movie that was. And I'm happy to say the Studio Series, well, let's just say I'm gonna open up my wallet more than once next year, I suppose. You have Grapple, you have Spinister, what else? Ironworks, you have quite a lot of Crosshair, you know, there's a Siege version of Starscream, you have Hotlink, and then you have the only sort of statue that was also a gift for my wife during the Bayverse era. I'm not particularly a huge fan of Transformers but in the Bayverse era. But it does come with the certificate of authenticity and whatnot, and I thought, yeah, you know what, I'll display it, why not? So there you go, that's the first shelf. Of course, it's all a work in progress, but I'm happy within the 6-7 months that I have, I managed to collect as much as I can. On to the next shelf, which is a bit bare bone compared to the first one, but it's a work in progress, let's say. So just like the Marvel Legends, I would like to collect something for DC, and start off with the DC Vault here, the background, the book, and in front of that, the very first McFarlane figure that I bought from the DC Multiverse line, and I think I'm gonna expand that, as you can see just about right here. Superman, Batman, you know, Deathstroke and all that. Because I would love to have a DC equivalent to my Marvel universe. And I mean, the problem with McFarlane is he doesn't come up with the figures that I like, in terms of, I want the figures to have that sort of classical look, and you know, he tends to stray from that. Sometimes you know, he depicts the animated series, sometimes the sort of the game was and all that. So, but we'll just have to wait as it comes. Let's see how much I can collect that. Wrestling for anyone, 80s, who can forget these guys? Not necessarily superheroes, but my god, they were some of my favorites. Hulk Hogan, Million Dollar Man, Iron Sheik, Jake the Snake Roberts, you have Macho Man, Randy Savage, and then there's some older ones from Hasbro. I think it's from Hasbro. Anyway, what do you call Hacksaw Jim Duggan and Ultimate Warrior. I mean, these guys, they were quite a character. Quite some of the best characters of the 80s. Very 80s driven sort of nostalgia in terms of collecting them. I thought it would be fun to collect them in this sort of caricature versions of themselves, because they were quite comic-y, and but I loved every moment of that 80s wrestling. I mean, it was some of the best moments of wrestling, up to, I would say, right about the Stone Cold The Rock era. Then after that, I just lost interest. It was just too much to, you know, absorb. Nevertheless, if I ever find more extensions of this, I would. I think there was like a Bret the Hitman Hart version for Funko and all that, so I'll probably collect that. Some neat piece, like not really fit into any of my collection, but I thought would be like good standout, would be some of the Star Wars depicted in sort of a reimagined world. So in this case, you have the Meisho, I believe, Yari Ashigaru Stormtrooper, and then there you can see, I haven't opened that up yet for review, the Darth Vader Samurai or Feudal Japan reimagined version. I just love these characters. I mean, look at it, it's just wow, the design. And so I thought I'll give, you know, a look at the top shelf here for Star Wars. This is one that I think you've seen in my toy hunt video, just the last video, where I just had to get this, which is Luke Skywalker in his snow speeder mode or depiction. Now, I'm not particularly a Star Wars fan in terms of like a die-hard fan, but you know, I can recognize something, then it's good when I see it, and something like that, you know. Let's see, whenever I get my chance, I'll try to collect that. Then we go on to one of the best cartoons of my life. In fact, I'm binge watching right now the series from season 1 to 7. 5, I think it was. The X-Men animated series. My god, this is my introduction to the X-Men world, and all of these figures here are just something that I associate with the cartoon, and it's just something that I'm so proud and happy to collect, and I will still be collecting some more, of course, just like everyone else. I assume Rogue is a nightmare, so is Jubilee, because the last one was just sold off in Big Toy Store. Beast, the Blue Beast. So I hope there will be like a reintroduction of these characters, like just how they're doing it for, you know, Gambit and Rogue, but hopefully for new collectors like me, because people tend to forget, yeah, it's all well and good coming up with new characters for the older collectors who have collected just about everything, but for someone like me who's just started, you know, I'm looking for these characters. And you know, honestly, I don't really want to buy them in the secondary market. Sometimes I do. So this, like for instance, is Gladiator. I mean, who can forget? He's the man that tossed Juggernaut like a ragdoll in one of the episodes. So you gotta have them. And then from there, then you have, of course, Apocalypse. You have the usual bunch for X-Men. Then you have Mr. Sinister, who made a prominent role. So for the X-Men, what I was going for is the X-Men itself, the Core 9 from the animated series, of course, with the addition, I think probably Colossus, Psylocke, Bishop, Forge, and all this that I'm able to track down, one purchase at a time. You know, eventually I think I will outgrow this particular space, because it's just way too many characters. The X-Men animated series, or the universe that I'm trying to create here, is a universe by itself, alongside the Marvel one over there and the Spider-Verse that I'm trying to collect. Now, just to keep up with time, something that has gone a little bit of criticism from Transformers 7, but I see no problem whatsoever. In fact, these are the non-transformable robots, which is the first wave I think had Megatron, and then you have Soundwave, and you have Optimus Prime. Now, you know, for me, as long as you give me G1, I don't care in what depiction they come from. I have bought my son figures of G1 based off like a Funko-fied version of it, and I don't really care. You know, for me, if it is G1, somebody respects G1, I'm okay with that. So yeah, so one of the shelf will be the animated series. Now the plan is to buy a Spider-Man, so you put him in the middle, and then all the sort of villains going after him. Of course, one of the villains also include, alongside my what do you say, Electro, Green Goblin, all this bunch, is that man right there, Kingpin. I mean, who can forget? Made a lot of appearance in the Spider-Man animated series. He will be something that I will review in the coming days. Open him up, see what it's all about. Yeah, would love to create a universe just like the X-Men for the Spider-Man. And finally, this is some latest purchases I haven't been able to open and review, by in due time. Of course, Deathstroke and Batman from the Detective Comics 1000 for my DC bit right here, so that I have good competition for my Marvel stuff. So there you go. And of course, vehicles. Who can forget the Cobra His Tank? Because why not? You know, it's G.I. Joe, it's vehicle. I mean, G.I. Joe, if ever you want to collect vehicle, that has to be G.I. Joe, wouldn't it? You know, so that's where I stand at the moment, and it's getting too hot here for me to shoot, so I will end the video. So that's it, guys. I think this is what I've been able to collect for the last, you know, bear with me, 6 to 7 months. So I think for 6 to 7 months I did pretty okay. Have I gotten everything I ever wanted? No, but that's half the fun, isn't it? You know, to go hunting, to look for stuff that all of a sudden, now that I have picked up most of this stuff, it's not all guns blazing. You know, I can really focus on improving my collection and adding stuff that I only need, like in certain places, so whether it's Marvel or Motu or, you know, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Transformers, anything, you know, instead of buying everything under the sun, because I've added to my collection. So with that, I bid you farewell. I don't want to take too much of your time. Have a wonderful New Year celebration, guys, and I think I will end the video for this year, and until the new year then, where you will see me add to my collection. So Thank you for watching, guys, and as always, if you like what you saw today, please feel free to subscribe and like, because that tells me that I'm not alone. Anyways, so thank you for watching, and as always,